All right, ladies and gentlemen, your focus needs to be on me. Yesterday, I gave you a problem that, yes, was extremely difficult. And yes, you may not have been able to answer all the questions. But my main concern is if you could have figured out how to answer all the questions. If you would look on your formula chart.
I did.
Because we're going to get some big numbers here, and I'm telling you, big numbers. But if I read this to begin with, the instructions say, which I'm going to read the instructions aloud because most of you didn't, because then you'd say I'm like, duh. And I'd say, well, what do the instructions say? I don't know. Then at the end of the instructions it says you will create your own story that will require customary length conversions. So, we're going to read the passage and answer the questions. When you have finished, you will create your own story that will require customary length conversions. Now, I wrote this story, and I intentionally put calculations in there that were going to be way big. You may have made some mistakes while you were doing your multiplication, and that wasn't the biggest deal here. The biggest deal is being able to figure out what you should have multiplied, when you should have multiplied it. Hey, come on in.
This is from the library substitute.
From the library substitute for her who?
Free money.
Oh, Caleb. You won $1 million.
He won $1.
All right, so
Mine is 9,999.
Yeah. Wait, see
when we're quiet, we're ready to go. Thank you. The story starts, and I made this up. I was just typing. Alexander Cobblebatton, or Cobblebatton. I put Coddlebottom, and then somebody said, that doesn't sound right, so I changed it to Cobblebatton. Ran 5 miles every day for 6 years. So the first thing we're going to do is 5 miles every day for 6 years. We need to, before we do anything else, find out first how many days are in 6 years.
307.
So we take 365. That's how many days are in a year. That's what your formula chart says. And I also said we're not worried about leap year.
Oh, every 4 years is one more day.
Leap year is when there's February 29th in it. All right. So it only happens every 4 years.
Yeah.
And it minuses your age, so if you're
All right.
29, you're like 8. So.
When you guys are ready.
Regan.
And all your parents are going to see this video and like, why are my children talking so much? Okay, so this is the number of days in 1 year. And I like keep things written down so I have access to them. And I need to know how many days are in 6 years. Why 6 years? Because Alexander did this running every day for 6 years. Every day for 6 years. So I multiply 6 times 5 is 30. 3 is 6 is 36 plus 3 is 39. 9, 3, 18, 19, 20, 21. So if I go over here, 6 years equals 2,190 days. And some of you who are doing this on your desk, or then you'd erase it or something like that, it's gonna make it harder because then you're gonna have to go back and redo the math. And math is so difficult.
No, it's not.
All right.
Especially when you have a calculator.
Silencio clase. Now it says, so now he ran 5 miles every day. So now I know how many days he ran. He ran 2,190 days. And each of those days, he ran 5 miles. So this is going to tell me how many miles he ran. So this is going to be Alexander ran. And then I'm going to figure out how many miles Alexander ran. That's a 0, that's a 45. So that's a 5 there, carry the 4, 5, 9, 10. 10,950.
Here, let me check the work.
So, I have my little notes off to the side. Alexander ran 10,950 miles. Is that what you got, Phoenix?
Moving on.
Awesome sauce, Phoenix. Way to go. Good job. Really, I just said that to draw your attention back to what we're doing. I know. That's a teacher technique. It's like when somebody's off task or talking too much, you go over there and you teach by standing next to them, and then they usually get nervous and start paying attention. That's what happens in faculty meetings. They usually have to stand next to me because I don't pay attention.
I know your trick.
So, next it says Cindy Copperline. Everybody was like, why do they have different last names? Well, my sister's last name was Chakowski because she got married. That's how they have different last names. Stop worrying about Cindy and her last name. Cindy Cooperline ran 3 miles a day for 8 years. Well, we looked at our formula chart. We know there are 365 days in a year.
2 days.
And we're going to figure out how many days she ran. So that's 40 with a 0 and a 48 plus 4 is 52. 24 plus 5 is 29. 2,920 days. So what is that? 8 years equals 2,920 days.
Can we correct this on our paper?
Yes. And this is Cindy. And this here is Alexander.
Well,
Now, we have to figure out how many miles total she ran. Well, she ran how many miles per day? 3 miles per day for 2,920 days. So 2,920 days for 3 miles each of those days. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't run 1/100th of a mile a day. But Cindy and Alexander do like running. So we multiply that through. That's 0, that's 6, that's 27, 7, 2, 6, 7, 8. So she ran 8,760 miles.
I was off by,
So Cindy ran
by 18.
8,760 miles. Am I doing my math right here?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good? Okay.
What
Okay,
for
okay,
days?
okay.
'Cause I'm confused with all the numbers.
So now I've got,
Okay,
I see I write
so-
this stuff down here. Oh, I'm sorry.
So his days was 365 times 6. That's why, because
Their mother
is 8 years.
wanted to
This
know
was supposed to be
who ran the
6 years.
furthest. So Phoenix, who ran the furthest?
No, that's still not right, sweetie. What? Yeah. Okay. Beginning
Alexander ran the
3,
furthest.
6,
Because
5
Alexander ran
times
10,950
6.
miles.
That is how many days.
And
that
Cindy ran
is.
8,760 miles. Mom wants to know who ran the furthest. Well, Alexander ran the furthest. Mom wants to know how many feet further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the difference in miles first, and then change that number of miles to feet. So the difference in the number of miles, 10,950, subtract 8,760. That's a 0. Got to take 100 and add 10 tens to there, so I get 15. Minus 6 is 8. No, 9. 9, 8, subtract 7 is 1. 10 minus 8 is 2. Is that right? Yes. So, Alexander ran. Am I doing my math right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alexander ran 2,190 miles further. Okay, so I'm going to write that little note down there. And so I have that on the side so that I have this information to refer back to later. See, that's called proximity control. Peyton, you were making a bunch of noise, so then if I go stand by you, you're like, oh yeah, I shouldn't do that, otherwise he'll take that water bottle and throw it down the hallway. And nobody wants that. So I'm going to put Alexander ran 2,190 miles further. Okay, so now I know Alexander ran 2,190 miles further. But the question asks in feet. Now, you haven't been really required to multiply numbers this big.
But it's easy. You just do it by 3 digits by 3 digits by 3 digits, but it's like 20 digits by 20 digits.
Okay, so I know you haven't been required to multiply by numbers this big. That's why I gave you the opportunity on day 2 to use a calculator. So 2,190 multiplied by 5,280. Someone do that on their calculator.
Wait, what? That?
Will somebody do it?
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, wait. Wrong numbers.
Wait, it's 11 million.
Wait,
11
Times?
11 million what? 562, 200.
No, 63. Yeah.
I have 1,156.
Yeah. 11 million.
Oh.
All right, so now
50,200.
that answers another question. Alexander ran 11,563,200 feet further. He ran that many feet further. But
Wait,
what you had to be able to
don't
do,
race, do not race.
but what you had to do is this forced you to look at your formula chart and see that there were 5,280 feet in a mile. Now when you test, you're always going to have access to that formula chart. But the purpose of this is to get us thinking. All right. And again, what I'm seeing many of you do, and you did yesterday, you'd answer the question, and then you'd just put a number down, and then you'd be like, well, what do I multiply here? And I said, well, the number of days that Alexander ran. And you're like, oh, I got to go back and figure that out again? Well, no, you just write it down. In math, you really shouldn't erase.
Why?
Because then you can go back and look at your information. Now, if you make a mistake, you may want to put a little avoid the noid sign on it and cross off. But if you have that information there, then it's silly to erase it. I wouldn't ever erase in math.
Why? You just did. You just erased.
I know, but I need this space. But if I were a student in a math class, I never erased my work because that work can come back and help me at a later time. I'm just saying. So next, to warm up, Alexander ran 200 feet each day. How many total feet did he run warming up? Well, how many days did Alexander run?
2190.
So he ran 2,190 days, and each one of those days, warming up, he ran 200 yards. Yards, feet, what was it? Feet. Now you're like, 4 digit by 3 digit? That's so difficult. Really not. I can move these 3 zeros that are at the back straight down, and then all I'm doing is multiplying 219 by 2. My answer has these 3 zeros at the back.
834.
So 18, 8, carry the 1, 2, 3,
4.
8.
4.
Wait, 18, carry the 1, 2 plus 1 is 3, 2 times 2 is 4. Am I right here?
Yes.
Okay. So, warming up, Alexander ran, this is his warm-up.
Down. I'm just typing it.
Warm-up is 438,000 feet per day. Or not per day, for the 6 years. So warming up, Alexander ran 438,000 feet. That's just his warm-up. 200 feet's
Is that
really
the answer?
to one of the questions. The question that asks how many feet did he run warming up. Thank you. So, pretty easy. It's just a matter of filling in blanks, really. And if we kept this written down, I knew what to multiply by. If I know my math strategies, I can multiply or move those 3 down, and then you're not multiplying a 3-digit by 4 digits, just a 3-digit by 1 digit. Next question.
Wouldn't it be a 4-digit by 1 digit?
No, because I moved that 0 down. Cindy ran 50 yards each day to warm up. How many feet did she run to warm up each day? So she ran 50 yards. And we want to know how many feet. She ran 50 yards. We want to know how many feet. Well, which one's bigger, yards or feet? Yards. We know the yards, so we're changing from yards, which is the bigger measurement, to feet. If you're going from a bigger measurement to a smaller measurement, you're going to multiply. Bigger measurement to a smaller measurement, you multiply. If you're going from a smaller measurement, like yards to miles, you divide. Yes, sir.
Would you do 50 times 3?
Yes. I would do 50 yards times 3 feet in each yard. So she ran 150 feet each day to warm up. So Cindy's warm up was 150 feet per day. 150 feet per day. That's Cindy's warm up. Now I know I said don't erase, but when I turned this in, I would find maybe the back or another piece of paper where I kind of went through and listed the answers. Because what I know, I'm not saying anyone in particular, but Hira sometimes numbers his papers. He'll have like number 1 here, 2 here, 4 here, 3, 7, 9, and then I'm like, and I'm crazy. Some people are like, okay, here's number 1, and here's my work for number 1. Here's my work for number 2. Or if you just put your answers in a neat, concise place, I could probably grade it in
So can you
less than an hour.
Can you work out on like a sheet and then write your answer down?
Yes, you can. All right, so let's see how many feet in the entire year did she run to warm up. So she ran 150 feet. We want to know how many feet in a year. So Presley, if she ran 150 feet per day, how would I figure out how many feet she ran per year? By multiplying by? How many days in a year? 365 times 150. And who's got that worked out by a calculator?
I already did it.
What'd you get, Hannah? No, what'd you get, Gage?
54,000.
54,000.
Okay, pick one
Wait,
up.
are we answering the one where it says...
This.
Yeah, it's 54,750.
54.
Wait, which one?
This problem, 365 times 150. 750.
Times 365.
So her warm up was 54,750 feet per year. Or let's see, 54,750 feet per year. All right, so now we're moving on. We are flying through this because we're so smart.
No, it's because we have calculators.
Let's see.
Calculators.
You have calculators, but you still have to figure out what you're supposed to multiply, which was which was one of the points of this activity. Another point was to see if you'd get so frustrated and whine, which for some people happened in about 3 seconds. This makes no sense.
What? No, that is not true. I beg to differ. I was reading what it said up in the screen.
Quiet. Okay, now we're back to Alexander. After Alexander Cobblebatton finished running each day, he jumped over boxes that were each 2 5/10 feet tall. How many inches was each box? So we have it 2 5/10 feet tall. We need to change that to inches. Feet are bigger than inches. So that's going to be a multiply. So we have 2 5/10 multiply. How many inches are in 1 foot? 12. And Riley, what does that equal? 30. Say again? 30 feet? Or 30 inches?
Inches.
If I said, this is just a sidebar, like when the judge calls the attorneys up, and they cover the microphone and they're like, do you really think your client's guilty? Well, yeah, of course he's guilty, but I'm going to try and make sure he doesn't go to jail. Okay, thank you. If I said 0.5 of a foot, how many inches is that? 6 inches. Because 0.5 is the same as saying a half.
Wait, so that's
Wait.
the next answer?
Yes, this is 30 inches for for one box.
For 6 years. Wait, what question are we on? Wait, you missed the question. God did. Yeah.
Quiet. So we're down each box.
Chart that you went through, you missed a blank. So it's 30 inches in each box?
Yeah.
Each box equals 30 inches. Each box equals 30 inches. And if he jumped over 3 boxes, how many inches in total did he each day? So that's 90 inches.
90. Looked it up.
7.
What?
The questions aren't numbered.
I'm reading if you listen. All right, so now we know he jumped 90 inches per day jumping over those boxes.
Hurrah.
Now we're on. If he jumped 3 boxes, how many inches did he jump total each day? Now we want to know how many inches did he jump total each year. So again, we go back to 365. He jumped 90 inches per day. I can really move that 0 down and I do 365 times 9. So what is my answer here, Phoenix?
I got 32,850. And what happened?
32,850. So in a year, now speak up because I'm trusting whoever answers me. So in a year, he jumped 32,850. So he jumped 32,850 inches per year. I mean, it's really only 90 inches a
Is
day.
he trying to go to the Olympics or something?
I don't know, Alexander. So I don't know.
So they might be taking
Now we're down here.
You made him up.
Now we're down here with how many feet did he jump over the 6 years? So now we have 2 things we have to do. We know it was 32,850 per year.
What?
Inches per year. So I want to find out how many feet per year.
85.
So I'm going from inches, which are smaller, to feet, which are bigger, which means we're going to divide.
Multiply. No, because if you divide, you go shrink.
Yes, I want it to shrink.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to run more feet than he does inches. He's not going to run more feet than inches.
I have the answer.
So I'm going to have 32,000.
Small number you multiply.
850 divided by 12. And I get, Janelle?
Hold on. 273,007.5.
Yeah.
No, it should get smaller.
It's 273.75.
237.5.
I have
273.75.
273.75?
Yes.
No, it's not getting smaller.
No,
Same as
273.5. 273.5.
No, yeah.
I have
So,
7.5.
quiet. Caleb. Yes.
I think you made a math mistake.
Okay. Where?
In the first part.
Here?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
I'll use a calculator.
It was like calculating.
I think it would 96 inches.
30 times
Oh.
30 times 3 is 90 inches. Okay? So this is
I got 30 again.
I got 30 again.
this is 2,737 and a half. What is this? Feet
Yeah.
per year that he jumped?
I think shards. No. Feet.
I'm getting by
Feet per year that he jumped. So now we're at, I mean, we really haven't gotten to too big of numbers. Some of you were working on numbers that were like, you had 5 or 6 numbers that were in the millions. I don't know why she swallowed the fly.
Because she was hungry.
Perhaps. She died. Okay, now we're... All right. So now we're at the point. Last April, he drove 123 miles to his aunt's house. He drove 123 miles. And we need to change that to both feet and to yards, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
So 123 miles times how many feet are in 1 mile? 5,280. 80. So 100,
No, it's a snowman.
600 or 64,000.
79,881, 120. What are you guys doing? Calculating.
You just got wrecked.
This.
Yeah.
So this equals
Yeah, never mind.
feet he drove.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Now I need to know 123. I need to change it to yards. So we're going from miles to yards, which means multiply. So how many yards are in 1 mile?
I found an answer.
How many yards in 1 mile?
I don't know.
Caitlin? Good, 1,760. And that is going to equal
216,480. There you go.
216,000.
480. Yeah.
And that's how many yards he drove.
Yay.
And I believe that finishes the problem.
No, there's a car one at the end.
Did.
That is.
Oh.
Hey, we don't need to yell. It's kindness. We're kind to one another. So I believe that answers all the questions.
Yes.
So now let me ask you a question. Class, did that require a lot of math? Yes. But the two biggest things I want to take from this is, one, did you be a quitter or a whiner? And two, did you know what math you had to do to not write on somebody else's desk?
Yes.
Okay? So those were the two things I was really looking for. Boom, shakalaka. Peace out. God bless. Be kind.